Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into something you've probably never had to think about before until suddenly it's literally all you can think about. It's that huge, overwhelming life transition when the roles of parent and child just kind of start to blur and reverse. Look, if you're feeling a heavy mix of grief for how things used to be, maybe some fear for the future, and this sudden crushing weight of responsibility, I really want you to know right now, you are not alone. Our goal today is to bring a calm, methodical breakdown to what feels like total chaos and help you find the absolute best support for this new chapter.
Okay, let's dive into this. My parent can't live alone anymore. Wow, it is a heavy, heavy realization, isn't it? Millions of families, especially right here across California, are navigating this exact same transition right now. It's the kind of thought that usually hits you at the kitchen table late at night, bringing this massive tidal wave of doubt and guilt along with it. But hey, remember this. The goal isn't to take away your parents' independence. Not at all. The goal is to keep them safe, healthy, and connected.
To get there, we absolutely need a plan. So we're going to systematically map out the chaos and empower you with a clear, actionable strategy. We'll quickly run through the turning point, assessing your parents' actual needs, the 3 paths for care, how to actually pay for it, making the right decision, and finally, your first 4 steps to take this week. All right, moving into section 1, the turning point. Now, I know when you're in the thick of it, this feels like an absolute crisis. But let's shift our perspective for just a second. This crisis is actually a crucial moment of clarity. It's the exact point where the physical risks of your parent living alone have finally outweighed the comfort of what is familiar. And this brilliantly illustrates how that moment usually arrives. It's really one of 2 ways. On the left, you've got the sudden crisis. We're talking a bad fall, a broken hip, maybe a stroke. The healthcare system basically forces your hand here. A hospital discharge planner steps in, looks at you, and says sending your parent home is simply unsafe. It feels so clinical, so abrupt. Then on the right, you have the slow decline. This is the scorched pot left on the stove, the sudden weight loss, piles of unopened mail, or those missed medication doses. There's no single dramatic event, which means the heavy decision falls entirely on your shoulders. Look, whether you got an abrupt hospital call or you had this creeping, sinking realization in your parents' living room, your grief and your guilt are completely valid. Please give yourself some grace here.
Let's head to section 2, assessing your parents' needs. Because before we can even begin to look for care solutions, we've got to objectively categorize the actual problem.
Saying they can't live alone is super broad, right? We need to figure out exactly what that means for your specific situation. In the senior care world, we break this down into 2 very distinct categories. The first is ADLs, or Activities of Daily Living. You're going to hear this vital acronym a lot. These are the fundamental physical tasks of self-care. It's the basic stuff we do to get ready in the morning and maintain our bodies. We're talking bathing, dressing, feeding oneself, toileting, and mobility, like just getting in and out of a bed safely. If your parent needs help here, they require hands-on personal care. Then we have the second category, IADLs, or Instrumental Activities of Daily Living. Think of these as the more complex cognitive tasks you need to actually run a household and live independently in a community. This is paying the bills, taking the right medication at the exact right time, cooking meals, cleaning up, and driving. It is incredibly common for a parent to physically thrive, like they can dress and bathe perfectly fine, but cognitively, they're really struggling with these IADLs. They might forget to eat or accidentally mess up their heart medication. So the crucial point is this. You need to map out these specific limitations. Literally grab a piece of paper and write them down. Be super honest about where your parent is thriving and where they're struggling. And hey, if you need a more formal approach, your local Area Agency on Aging, or AAA, is an incredible free public resource in California. They can actually send out a social worker to do a comprehensive third-party assessment. Doing this gives you a crystal clear, objective target for exactly what kind of care you need to go out and find.
All right, section 3, 3 paths for care. Now that we have those needs clearly defined on paper, we can start looking at our actual options here in California. Those options basically fall into 3 main buckets: staying at home with support, moving to a community setting, or moving to a skilled nursing facility. Now, for most families, that first option, aging in place right at home, is usually the preferred first choice, assuming the home environment is actually safe and they don't need round-the-clock supervision.
Let's walk through how these 3 paths actually compare. Over in the first column, home care. California has this massive program called In-Home Supportive Services, or IHSS. If your parent qualifies for Medicaid, IHSS can actually pay a caregiver to come to the house. And amazingly, that paid caregiver can often be you, an adult child. There are also CBAS day centers where seniors can go during the day for meals, physical therapy, and socializing. In the middle column, we've got the community setting. These are mainly residential care facilities for the elderly, or RCFEs. You probably just know them as assisted living. These are apartment-style communities, they've got communal dining, and 24/7 staff to help out with those ADLs we just talked about. They're usually private pay, but California does have an assisted living waiver program that can help low-income seniors cover the care portion. Finally, on the far right, skilled nursing facilities, or SNFs. This is what most people mean when they say nursing home. Now, this is an entirely different level of care. It is a full-on medical facility for folks who require 24-hour, complex medical care. Things like wound care or really advanced memory support.
Which naturally brings us to Section 4, how to pay for care. Let's just address the giant elephant in the room right now. The cost of senior care is, without a doubt, the single biggest source of stress for families. The system is just incredibly complex.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it dismantles the biggest, most dangerous myth in elder care. People constantly confuse these two programs, but they serve entirely different purposes. On the left is Medicare. Think of this as your federal health insurance for people over 65. It covers your doctor visits, prescriptions, and short-term rehab in a skilled nursing facility. Like if you're recovering from surgery, it covers up to 100 days. On the right is Medi-Cal. This is California's specific version of Medicaid. It's a state and federal program based on income and assets. Medi-Cal is the program that actually focuses on long-term custodial care.
I really need to state this reality as clearly as possible. Medicare does not pay for long-term custodial care, period. It is not going to pay for an aide to come to your house for years to help your mom bathe, and it will definitely not pay for an assisted living facility. Once a person's personal savings have been totally spent down, Medi-Cal steps in as the primary payer for long-term nursing home care, ISS, and that assisted living waiver in California. Getting this difference straight in your head is absolutely critical to your financial planning.
So, how do we pull all of this together? Let's look at Section 5, making the right decision.
Listen, there is no single magical perfect answer here. There is only the best answer for your family during this specific chapter of life. We can narrow down the choices by looking at these 4 pillars. Pillar 1, your parents' wishes. Keeping them at the center of the conversation honors their dignity. Pillar 2, the level of care. You have got to be totally realistic about their actual physical and cognitive needs. Pillar 3 is budget. Having an honest family conversation about financial limits is going to naturally dictate which paths are actually viable for you. And Pillar 4, family capacity. This literally means your well-being.
I want to pause on that 4th pillar for just a second. Please hear this. It is incredibly noble to want to be the absolute sole caregiver for your parent, but man, it can also lead to total burnout and the complete collapse of your own health. It is not a failure to say, I can't do this alone. In fact, it is a strength. Protecting your own physical and emotional limits, that's a fundamental requirement of this process, not a weakness. You have to build a plan that is sustainable.
Let's move to Section 6, your first 4 steps, and see how this builds into concrete action.
I know this is a ton of information, and it is so easy to feel completely paralyzed right now. You don't have to solve everything by Friday. Just follow these really low-barrier steps this week. Step 1, breathe. Acknowledge that this is a marathon and give yourself full permission to be a beginner. Step 2, get a dedicated notebook. Write down every phone call, every name, every single date. Trust me, this simple act creates order out of the chaos. Step 3, call your county's Area Agency on Aging. Just tell them your situation and ask, where do I start? They are literally there to help. And Step 4, have a gentle preliminary conversation with your parent. Frame it as a team effort. You are talking about adding support to their life, not taking away their control.
Ultimately, the right decision is simply the one that provides the most safety, dignity, and peace of mind for everyone involved. And hey, that absolutely includes you. Which leaves us with this final vital question. You're taking care of them, but who is taking care of you? It's a question that almost always gets buried under the stress of paperwork and care plans. Next time, we are going to break down the critical and often totally overlooked reality of caregiver burnout and the specific resources available to help you breathe again. Until then, remember, you've got this. Keep that notebook handy, take it one step at a time, and I'll see you in our next explainer.